grams. We brought words down to the right. We have to convert into moles. So again, this is your conversion step. If it's a conversion step, how many moles are we always talking about? 1. So we're going to put a 1 up here. Circle it. What number goes down here for grams? Molar mass. Is that what yeah. Molar mass. Never bring the number across, okay? Only the words come down and across. All right. Then you had moles of A at the top, so we brought moles of A down to the right. That's the first time that you see the word mole. That means that we're in Mole Town. What do we do when we're there? Cross the bridge. So you see that I'm putting a bracket there. I've had students who, they don't like the bracket. They just put a star when they know that they're crossing the bridge. That way, if you don't see a star on your page or you don't see a bracket on your page, you didn't do it right because you never reached the bridge. Okay? You got to have a mole-to-mole ratio at one point, which on the assignment yesterday on Schoology, one of the questions was asking you to put in your mole ratio, just like that. And it kind of flipped-flopped them, okay, to prepare your brains for that. All right, so you have your mole over mole, so moles of A to moles of B. We know that this is our mole ratio again. Where are we going to pull those numbers from? What's the word? Coefficients. Good. I'm not going to write it again, but you guys can write it on yours if you want. All right, so your coefficients again, okay? All right, so that's it, and that would be where you stopped because you got moles of B on the top. Do you see that? You stop when you get what you want on top. All right, let's look at the next one. You have moles of A. We're trying to convert into grams of B. So once again, you're going to have a given in the problem. Okay, so this part is going to be given to you. You're going to have given moles of A. I brought my words down to the right. We have, okay, nope. So we have moles down at the bottom. That's your cue. The first time you see moles on the bottom, you cross the bridge. What this meant, according to the map, you already were in Mole Town. You go right to the bridge. Always got to cross the bridge. All right, so this will be your mole ratio, meaning your coefficients will show up right there. Okay. Then I brought my words down to the right. And I need to end in grams because we want grams of B. So I'm going to say moles to grams of B, right? Moles of B to grams of B. This is your conversion step. So how many moles are we talking about? 1, good. And the number at the top is your molar mass from the periodic table. Okay, and the last one, moles of A to moles of B. This is what we've been doing, right? So once again, we start with a given. Notice we have never started with anything other than our given from the problem. We brought words down to the right. We see mole on the bottom. Is that the first time seeing mole on the bottom? Yes. So that's the bridge. You were already in Mole Town. You're crossing the bridge. We're crossing the bridge, so that means that we end as moles, but of B. Did we end with what we wanted? Yes. So that would be the end of that calculation. Okay. So go ahead and take your highlighter again. Highlight for yourself where you have moles of B so that you know, not moles of B, but everything dealing with B so that you can kind of see where you are changing. Okay, so you have parts that are unhighlighted and parts that are highlighted, and that way you know where you're pulling these numbers from. So, do you see similarities to that big problem or the big setup that we wrote first? Do you guys see that these are all just little pieces of it for the most part? Hopefully, maybe. Okay. So, if you looked at the top one and you were like, doesn't look that bad, then awesome. That's beautiful. Okay. Please, please, please make sure you're using these notes as we are doing the practice as much as you can because it's going to come just from doing your homework and doing the practice when I'm giving you guys time here in class. All right? All right, let's go ahead and start looking at the problems off to the right. You guys went ahead and balanced already. So what did we say the first one was again? 2, 2. Thank you. 2, 2, 3. And if you're still needing help with balancing, I can put those videos back up or make a video about this, okay? All right, so 2, 2, 3. All right, so with this problem, and if you use the top part up here to show your work for balancing, then you can write your answer or what we're about to do. You can write it down here. Just write number 1. You have a lot of blank space down here. All right, so we're going to read the problem. It says, how many moles of KClO3 must decompose in order to produce 9 moles of oxygen gas? So you need to be doing this. Underline the number. We also need all the words attached to that number. 9 moles oxygen. That is what you're starting with. So we're going to go ahead and write that down just so we have a place that we're starting. 9.00 mole oxygen from this balanced equation was O2. Okay? I'm not going to dive in yet. We're going to look at what the rest of the problem said. It said, how many moles of KClO3 must decompose? So the question is asking for us to, so I'm going to grab my highlighter and highlight, just because I think if we try to circle, there's a lot of writing already. So we're going to circle or highlight what you're solving for. You are solving for moles of KClO3. Any of the assignments on Schoology that I give you the ability to highlight. I recommend you highlight what you're solving for on all of them. All right, so moles of KClO3 is what we're going to try to get to. So we already wrote down what we're starting at. I'm going to go ahead and say times in a line. I'm going to bring the word part down to the right. Okay, we have moles on the bottom. What does that tell you this step is probably going to be? No? The mole ratio, exactly. So you might give yourself a little symbol. The minute you see moles on the bottom, you're doing that, okay? Because the conversion step, it's never going to happen in the first couple boxes with the 1 on the bottom, okay? It's always going to be in the last thing. All right, so that's going to be where we're going to pull coefficients. So we had moles of oxygen. We want moles of KClO3. The fact that we're crossing the bridge tells you that you can switch the compound. If you don't have moles on top and bottom, you can't switch anything. You cannot go moles of oxygen to grams of KClO3. It's not possible. Don't do it. You have to have moles over moles. That's why I mark mine with a bridge. All right? Tell yourself that. All right. So this part we're going to, like we just said, we're going to pull from the coefficients. So let's go ahead and pull our coefficients. So what coefficient is with oxygen? That's a lot of different answers. What number? 3. Yes. So we're pulled from right here. How about KClO3? That's a 2. Okay? So our answer, you're going to practice typing in your calculator to try to figure out what you like best. You can do 9 times 2/3. You can do 9 times 2, push equals, divided by 3. You can do 9 times 2, put an answer, and then divide it by 3. Figure out how you want to type it in your calculator, and if it's not getting you the right answer, then you need to talk to me as soon as possible, all right? What you're going to see me do, probably out of habit, and plus it's something that you can do on your phone, is I always type in my multiplying across the top, and then I divide by everything on the bottom. I push divide, 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 all right? So when I typed it in, I put 9 times 2, and I pushed enter to get an answer. Then I went divide by 3 and pushed enter. Did you guys get 6? Awesome. All right. There you go. Moles of KClO3. You need that whole thing for the answer to be correct. Okay? All right. Sorry. All right, so number 5. Skip down to number 5 with me real quick. Okay? So for number 5, what coefficients did you get down here? 1, 2, 2, 1. That's absolutely correct. 1, 2, 2, 1. All right. So we're going to read our problem. It says, how many grams of silver will be formed from 12 grams of magnesium? So I'm going to go ahead and underline my number and the words attached to it. Magnesium is Mg, by the way. I'm just using the balanced equation to give me that information. And then silver is this Ag. So looking at that, I'm going to start with my 12.00 grams of magnesium. I'm going to use my highlighter to figure out what I'm solving for. So we read it. It says how many grams of silver. So we're going to highlight grams of silver. Once we get grams of silver on the top, that's where we stop. Okay? All right, so I'm going to have times in a line. Okay? We're going to bring the words down to the right. So I'm going to bring grams of Mg down to the right. Am I crossing the mole bridge yet? No, because we don't have moles down here, right? You don't cross the bridge until you are in Mole Town. We're still in Gramland. All right, so grams. If we're in grams right now, we have to convert to the moles. We have to go to Mole Town. So we're going to have moles of Mg on top. All right, what's the number that we're going to put in the conversion step? A 1 for the mole. Good. Molar mass of magnesium from our periodic table was 24.305. Okay, that'll be after. All right, times in a line. All right. Then I'm going to bring my words down to the right. So I have moles of Mg. There's the word mole the first time. So that tells me that's the bridge. That is my mole ratio. What that tells me is that that is when we can switch characters. So we're going to have moles of magnesium on the bottom to moles of silver on top. Where do I get these two numbers from? If it's the bridge, it's the ratio. Coefficients. So let's look at our balanced equation. What do we have for magnesium? Oops, sorry. 1. Good. So we're going to put a 1 down here. It's not the one with the circle on it, though. The one with the circle is the guaranteed one. This one is actually a coefficient. Ag has what next to it? A 2. So we're going to put a 2 on top. Okay, I'm going to go times in a line. I'm going to bring my moles of silver down to the right. I'm going to change into grams of silver because moles of silver still wasn't what we wanted. We wanted grams of silver, right? So now that we're here, that's our last step. So we would have 1 mole of silver with a circle around it because that's our conversion step. Molar mass of silver, which is 107.868. No. All right. So now that we have grams on top, that told you that we finished it, right? So looking at this, you saw the top one was a mole to mole. So you can compare it to what we wrote down in our notes for mole to mole and the setup of it, right? This one was a what to what. What type of problem was it? Hey, everybody, read your problem. What did we start at? What unit did we start at? Grams. What did we end at? Grams. Okay, you're guessing. You guys are totally guessing here. We started in grams. We ended in grams. You see that? Oh. Okay. So, huh? All right, so gram to gram calculation. So you can look at the one that we wrote up here and compare that, okay? But I think we all need to type this into our calculator to make sure that you are going to be able to do it. So I will show the way that I do it, but if you choose to put the parentheses and multiply across, that's fine. If you multiply everything across and then multiply everything across and you have two numbers at the end that you divide, I've seen it done that way as well. But this way is the way that you can do it on your phone as well. That's why I usually stick to this. So I would look at this and I would do all the stuff across the top. So I would do 12 times 1, times 2 times 107,868. Once I got to that, 107,868, I would push enter and I would have this large number, right? At that point, I'm going to push divide. So you can do that on your phone as well. You push enter to get an equals, and you're going to push divide. You're going to push divide for each one of these numbers. So you're going to say 24.305. I'm going to push divide again. 1, divide again, 1. And then I'm going to push enter. But that's what I mean by in your calculator on your phone, you can just divide by everything on the bottom. Just give them each their own division. Okay? And then it's really, I think it works pretty well. So the answer I got was 106.514. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. 106.514 grams of silver. All right? So this should be a good place to kind of stop for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be practicing these calculations. So I would make sure you have these balanced, ready to go. Make sure you have your coefficients. And then you could start underlining your numbers that you're going to be starting with and at least start yourself off. Figure out which one of these setups we have to use for each one. Okay? All right. Good job. I know it was a long day today, long lecture today. But we're going to dive into the practice tomorrow. Okay?